strange epitaph for a strange year, and no real point in explaining it either. I haven't had a milkman since I was 10 years old. I used to ride around on the route with him, back in Louisville. It was one of those open-door stand-up vans that you could jump in and out of on the run. He would creep that rancid-smelling truck along the street from house to house while I ran back and forth with the goods. I was the runner, the mule, and occasionally the bagman when some poor wretch behind on her milk bill had to either pay up or drink water for breakfast that morning. Those scenes were always unsettling. Some half-awake, middle-aged housewife yelling at me in her bathrobe through the screen door. But I was a cold-hearted little bastard in those days. "Sorry, ma'am, but my boss out there in the truck says I can't leave these bottles here unless you give me $21.16. No argument ever fazed me. I doubt that I even heard the words. I was there to collect, not to listen, and I didn't give a hoot in hell if they paid or not. All I really cared about was the adrenaline rush that came with sprinting across people's front lawns, jumping hedges, and hitting that slow-rolling truck before it had to stop and wait for me. There is some kind of heavy connection between that memory and the way I feel right now about this stinking year that just ended. Everybody I talk to seems very excited about it. "God damn, man, it was a fantastic year," they say. "Maybe the most incredible year in our history." Which is probably true. I remember thinking that way myself back on those hot summer mornings when John Dean's face lit my tube day after day. Incredible! Here was this crafty little ferret going down the pipe right in front of our eyes and taking the President of the United States along with him. It was almost too good to be true. Richard Milhouse Nixon, the main villain of my political consciousness for as long as I can remember, was finally biting that bullet he's been talking about all those years. The man that not even Goldwater or Eisenhower could tolerate had finally gone too far, and now he was walking the plank on national TV, 6 hours a day, with the whole world watching, as it were. That phrase is permanently etched on some gray rim on the back of my brain. Nobody who was at the corner of Michigan and Balboa on that Wednesday night in August of 1968 will ever forget it. Richard Nixon is living in the White House today because of what happened that night in Chicago. Hubert Humphrey lost that election by a handful of votes, mine among them, and if I had to do it again, I would still vote for Dick Gregory. If nothing else, I take a certain pride in knowing that I helped spare the nation 8 years of President Humphrey, an administration that would have been equally corrupt and wrong-headed as Richard Nixon's, far more devious, and probably just competent enough to keep the ship of state from sinking until 1976. Then, with the boiler about to explode from 8 years of blather and neglect, Humphrey's Cold War liberals could have fled down the rat lines and left the disaster to whoever inherited it.